White House correspondent for the Daily Caller, Diana Glebova. Diana, some breaking news out of Washington where the Secret Service has found out who brought the cocaine into the White House. And the answer is apparently they don't know. What are your thoughts on all of this? And does it make sense that the White House, which might be the most surveilled building in the entire Western world, nobody knows who brought this in?
That's exactly right. And the Secret Service has spent 11 days looking for a potential suspect. And according to reports, they've been doing DNA testing, fingerprinting. They've been looking at hours, hundreds of hours of footage of surveillance, as well as looking at the visitor logs to see, again, who could be a potential suspect that left a small bag of cocaine about 11 days ago on Sunday night. And today, the reports say the Secret Service failed to identify any potential suspects. They said that the DNA evidence on the bag was not enough and that the surveillance could not identify any potential person. There's been a lot of outrage because, exactly as you said, James, the White House and the Secret Service are supposed to be some of the most protected and talented agents out there to investigate just this type of potential crime.
And I mean, Diana, you're the White House correspondent there. You've been to the White House many, many times. You work there. I've been to the White House as well. I know that, they take things seriously. They search people. They check people. What do you think? I mean, do you think it's possible that somebody could have accidentally, just an ordinary citizen, a worker, a journalist, a construction worker, might have just accidentally been able to bring a bag of an illicit substance like this without having it be detected through the security gates and all of that?
Well, I think if you're carrying around a bag of cocaine and you're going into the White House, it's probably not going to be an accident. You probably really know the cocaine is on your body. But as you said, it is a very meticulous process to get into the White House. You have to do a background check. And if you're a visitor, you have to submit your name at least 21 days in advance for the background check. And then when you enter, you go through a metal detector. And if you're a visitor for the tour, you can't even have a bag on you. So potentially the cocaine was on the person's body, or maybe it wasn't a visitor. Again, we don't know specifically who did this, but the leading theory, according to reports, is that the Secret Service still thinks it was a visitor that was on a tour at the White House. But again, they don't really know what happened here.
No, well, clearly they don't, or at least they're not saying it. But anyway, let's move on here because the 2024 presidential campaign is starting to heat up. Now, I just spoke with Adam Creighton about issues on the Democrat side with Joe Biden, but tell us the latest from the Republican side and where things are standing now as things start to heat up, especially for some of these early primary states like Iowa, New Hampshire, and now South Carolina.
Yeah, we're about approximately 6 months away from the first Republican primary election. It's going to be in January in Iowa. So the candidates, there's a wide range of Republican candidates, over 10 now, but they're really hitting the road, going to these early states like Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, and really trying to hit their message home with potential voters, because getting a win in the early state can really catapult a candidate in the primaries to potentially win the general election. But right now, if you look at the numbers, former President Donald Trump is way ahead, again, just according to the polls, but he's over 50% of the vote right now. And number two is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at approximately 20% or in the 20s. And then everyone else is below, I think, below 10%. So there's a wide range of numbers here. But again, there are 6 months still left in the game. So some strategists are saying that there's a lot of potential for the other candidates to still move forward in the game here.
And we'll be taking a bit of a deep dive into that a little later in the program. But in the meantime, let's go overseas here because, of course, the big story was Joe Biden going abroad, going to NATO and everywhere else in Europe and seeing the king in England. He had some comments about NATO and Ukraine. Let's have a listen to this.
I hope we finally have put to bed the notion about whether or not Ukraine is welcome in NATO. It's going to happen. You're all moving in the right direction. I think it's just a matter of getting by the next few months here.
Now, Joe Biden has also said that the world should show gratitude to the U.S. for backing Ukraine in their fight against Russian aggression. But Is there an end politically to the blank check coming, and will this be an issue coming up in the presidential election?
Yeah, as you saw in Joe Biden's comments right there in that clip, he's saying that the United States will continue supporting Ukraine, and he said this repeatedly. He's maintained all throughout the administration that, or as the war broke out, that the U.S. will support Ukraine for as long as it takes. Again, these are his public comments, but who knows how the political climate will change, especially with this election coming up, the presidential election. Some Republican candidates have vowed to continue supporting Ukraine, but some have said that, like, for example, Donald Trump has claimed that he will really try to negotiate a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. So there are a lot of possibilities here going forward, especially with the presidential election, whoever gets into office. But the Biden administration has again maintained that they will continue supporting. And one of the most interesting things that Biden said this week was that Ukraine is not yet ready to join NATO as long as it's in a war with Russia, because that would mean the U.S. would enter a war with Russia under Article 5.
Well, and indeed, that's absolutely correct. And we also saw a fascinating report. I'm not sure how much coverage this actually got, but apparently there are U.S. officials who are having back-channel discussions with Russia and want to have that sort of talk behind the scenes. Do you think that there may be some sort of peace deal being worked out behind the scenes between these two countries? Or has Joe Biden talked the U.S. out of that by saying that the only way that the war can end is with a full retreat of Russia from the entire Ukrainian territory?
Well, the reports have not been confirmed. The White House has not come forward and confirmed anything here or any U.S. officials on the record. And the Biden administration's line has always been that they will support Ukraine in whatever negotiations they want to do. So whatever negotiations President Volodymyr Zelensky wants to do, and that it will, again, supply Ukraine indefinitely. But if this report were to be true, it could potentially show that the United States is looking for backdoors. It's looking for possibilities, at least, with talking to Russian officials. But the president has not spoken to Vladimir Putin since the war began. So officially, there's not a lot of contact going on with Russia right now.
Indeed. Well, Diana Glebova, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.